all set.
We're live.
Should be.
Right, the time is 6:11 p.m. We'll call this meeting to order. It's Caribou Planning Board regular meeting Thursday, March 14th, 2024. Freudian slip. We have a quorum. Is there any disclosure of conflicts of interest? Hearing none, we will move on. Item number 2, you'll see the minutes from the last meeting.
I'll be consistent and make a motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second?
We have a motion to approve minutes by Dave and seconded by Steve. Any discussion? Take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
Jack?
Yes.
Yes.
Dave? Passes. The next item, City Council Liaison Updates. Anything from Jody? Okay. All right, moving on. New business, page 62 to 81. This is a new one for us, Penny.
Yes, so I did talk with Steve today about this because we haven't done one in a long time.
Oh,
So we have someone who wants to, oh, what's that?
We did one last year or the year before?
Yeah, but that was Ken.
Oh,
So
okay.
me and Tony haven't done one.
Oh, I thought you said Steve, you and Steve.
No, Steve was why we called.
Oh, okay.
Because we hadn't done one, so.
I see. I thought you meant we.
No, we as in Tony.
Gotcha.
I got all the 4-1 markers. That's what we did.
Gotcha. Okay.
So as you know, in Caribou, we desperately need childcare. So yes, in Caribou, we are in desperate need of people to open childcare businesses. So it was very exciting when Tony brought this up yesterday and said, am I too late to put this on the planning board agenda? And I'm like, you would be if they had a competent person that had their agendas done ahead of time, but lucky for her, I'm still working on it, So I did talk to Melissa today. So she's at the point that DHHS is just waiting for Tony or I to sign off on her application, and we talked through some of the things on her application about having a play yard that is on the side or in the back and not on the front. So right now she doesn't have a fenced play yard, but she has a porch that the kids can play on for now because they've just recently bought the house. Like you can see the deed is in here.
Yep.
And she's working on that. And so the subsurface wastewater disposal system, we don't have a copy of the plan, but in September of 2023, they had, she sent me an email that she did have that inspected, and it was 1,000 gallon. Okay, so this was from Caston Lovely from Ken Allen's Septic. Upon locating, digging up, and pumping the septic tank at 209 Van Buren Road, Caribou on 9/14/2023, I found the 1,000 gallon septic tank to be functioning on the day of service. So she has that. We talked about just the different things with her application, and so she has her punch list of things to do. The fire marshal's office has been out there. What's really interesting is I had someone that I know well and have known since I moved here, actually, call today about childcare, and it's like, what is Caribou going to do? Like, this is an economic development crisis because we don't have enough daycare, and is very concerned about us having places for kids to go so that their parents can work. So anyway, I said, good news, tonight the planning board and I are gonna be going through an application and hope to get her in business as soon as possible, so, and I think too, once we're able to talk about this and go through this, then, I told Tony I would make us kind of a punch list of the things that, the next time, so the next time we'll be more prepared for that.
Don't we, Steve, do you remember, didn't we do a home occupation the last time it came through?
Could have been.
We have daycare as a home occupation, I believe. That is a less invasive than our site development plan.
So we had her fill out this daycare application, but I don't know how old that is. That's what I really didn't know. Because see, it still has my email address on there.
Yeah.
And so that tells me that probably this predated Ken being here.
I think we had, last time we did it as a home occupation.
So are we missing, I can pull up the home occupation checklist here. See if we're missing.
And I believe last time what we did was, you know, the state wanted the okay from the city and the city wanted the okay from the state, so we
I'm
wrote,
just turning this on, we can look at the.
we wrote a letter, didn't we?
Okay.
Just stating that
Yeah.
it's zoning code compliant.
Yes. Yeah.
Can somebody refresh my memory? Have we, or do we mandate a fenced-in yard?
We don't.
That is
We
a
don't.
state,
They don't.
they don't, I was gonna say that would be a state requirement.
It would be a good idea,
Yeah,
but
A lot of them do it,
yeah.
just for their own.
we discussed it, and the people that have daycares in Caribou that do not have fences have never lost a child.
Yeah, but you
So
don't
we
want to ever
decided
have
not-
one.
Not to add another restriction to their project by requiring a fenced yard.
Can we make a recommendation?
We could change our ordinance. Planning board, we could bring that up and add it into our ordinance.
You know, we don't have to make it mandatory, but we can say that it's highly recommended that you fence in your yard.
We can do that anyway.
We can recommend it without
Yeah.
having it.
Without having it
without
part
having
of-
it in
Yeah.
the ordinance.
Right.
Yeah.
That's all you're looking for, is just that
Right.
we recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, just to plant a seed.
Well, I mean, if she discussed it with, did you get the feel that that was,
Yeah, no, she said that that's, I mean, again, they haven't owned the property very long,
Right.
but her plan is to fence the property because they right on the Van Buren
Yeah.
Road. Woodland.
Yeah.
It does sit back from the road quite a bit.
Yeah.
but, You know.
4-year-olds go really fast, though,
They can
They
move.
do.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially if you're looking at 4-year-olds here doing something, and that 4-year-old
Right.
makes a break for it.
The other thing is too, if you're in the front yard and they're in the backyard playing,
Mhm.
you're in the barrier between that and the road. Then they go in the back 40
Yeah.
and you don't know they're there either. So.
So our takeaway here is kids are wily creatures.
Yes, so I think this is the application that we've used
Yeah.
previously since it is a
Yeah.
home occupation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
pretty similar information.
Yeah, I mean, I seem to remember when we did this one, we were trying to make it even
Yeah.
easier because there's so much restriction at the state level for
Yeah.
daycares that I mean, this is going way back in my mind, like 6, 7 years ago, but I think we were just trying to make it as easy as possible. Is that your recollection, Steve?
And there is a section in the ordinance on daycares.
Yep.
It's about 1 paragraph with
Yep.
3 sentences.
Right. But does it require, in our current ordinance, home occupations require a hearing, public hearing?
I don't think so, unless it would be like an
The
occupation.
daycare
on
does
the-
not.
Unless it was something on like your land use table that would say that it would need something like that, but, or in the ordinance.
The ordinance says it's reviewed by a code enforcement officer and approved by the code enforcement
Yeah.
officer. And that they need a certificate of occupancy.
So what you're saying is we don't necessarily need a public hearing?
No,
Okay.
not for this particular use, but like a home
Right.
occupation, if someone was going to do something there that maybe in our ordinance said that you needed a public hearing, but this one apparently does not, so.
So sorry?
See how on this one we have a couple different, like you have the
Yeah.
kind that can be approved by the
Yeah.
code officer, and then you have some that have to be by the planning board, just depending on what the use is, I guess. Looking at our application, it appears that the state fire marshal's office, has a lot of conditions for someone to do this. I mean, naturally, you're taking care of kids, which we've already here determined are wily creatures and can get away. You want somebody who knows what they're doing, if their property is safe and the kids can't like go in the basement or something like that. That's the one thing I can remember from the bad old days when I sold real estate was I had someone who had operated a daycare that was moving into a different house, and she really had to get the improvements done before she moved because, of course, the parents didn't want any break in service while she was moving. And that was the big thing, was the door to the basement. Like, they had to be a rated door and had to be, something that could be locked and all of that. Yep.
This is the state checklist?
I believe so, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe so.
That's a big
It's like
checklist.
7 pages
Yeah.
of things here, and it looks like there's notes on
Yeah.
here. It appears that she had met with someone, Miss Bethany Kalman, because she had said, well, once I hear from you, then I can go back to her, Bethany, I think she said.
Isn't she she's the
Inspector.
for
yeah.
this area? Yeah.
And I'm guessing that she's the one that made the notes,
Yeah.
on here. I've heard other daycare providers talking about these thermometers in the refrigerator and the freezer and
Yes.
things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, I'm kind of glad that we're talking about this and talking about, so when you previously had a daycare application, like what came up for any hiccups? Do you remember?
We looked at one when Mr. Marker was here. We looked at one and we had talked about, I think we might have been rewriting the ordinance a little bit about trips per day.
Oh, okay.
And then R1, R2.
Mhm.
That was in the ordinance. And then I think we worked on this home occupation and might have redone some language in the land use table then
Mhm.
for home occupation and daycares, but I think that was about it.
I wonder if that was like in the definition section, because I know that he worked a lot on that.
We did a lot of definitions
Yeah.
too. Yeah.
Let's see.
Right, and in-home, there's a difference between an in-home daycare because they're only allowed up to 12
Mhm.
max, depending on age ratios and stuff, and it's not a daycare center, so I think it made it, that definition was in there.
Okay, let's see if they have something in the definitions here.
I think it's page 910 or 913.
Okay. But see, this chapter only has 188. So I was trying to figure out, because it started on 871, so I was trying to do the math in my head if on the table of contents it said what page, and then I was trying to find the page in here. So this one is home occupations. And you said You said you think 9:15
For daycares.
for daycares, okay.
Steve, have you memorized the whole ordinance?
Yeah, yeah,
That's
Sure.
impressive.
yeah.
Oh,
Licensing?
Yeah.
Daycare
Daycare.
facilities, yeah. Yeah, but what's the definition of a daycare facility?
I don't know.
Oh, wait, hold on, what's it say at the top? I'm sorry.
It's okay.
C1, I saw a bunch of zones. Established daycare facilities shall only be allowed in the R1, R2, R3 area. Yeah, okay, that's fine. I'm just noticing that we're gonna have to come back.
Yes, there's going to be all kinds of places.
Ah, I
that-
just
yeah.
noticed that, so we're gonna have to pass the table, the map, and the ordinance.
Mhm. Yeah.
All right.
Challenge accepted.
Oh my goodness, one fell swoop. All right,
Okay, so I can page down here, so
Yeah.
it's right there.
inspection, non-compliance, yeah. Outdoor play area,
Mm.
as required by the state, yeah, so this is all just following the states.
Yeah, see,
Located
revised January
and not be located in the
2016.
front yard, yeah, 2016,
Yeah, see at the bottom, so
Yeah.
that's why it still has my stuff on there.
yeah, okay. Okay. Well, it looks like Penny's looking for a motion.
Well, I'm just looking for, I mean,
A
I
letter
can
of
sign off
intent.
on it, but I know that you guys sometimes see things I don't see and, you know, maybe have some input based on other things that have happened and, you know, just good to discuss.
Oh, like you said, it's much needed. It's
Mm.
very needed,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
so.
It's kind of an
Anything we can
invisible.
do to help.
Yeah, right. Well, what I remember from back when this was done was that they were really trying to align that with, I've got your letter right there, as long as it's okay. Good.
I'm sure it's more than okay.
Okay, good. They were trying to align it with the state requirement so that we
Mhm.
weren't trying to make it any harder for people to start a business than what was necessary.
Hmm.
Yeah. So that is good because we definitely, for this kind of business, want everyone who has the inclination to start one to get on it, so.
So we do or we do not need,
You don't need to, but if you
This-
want to, that's fine too, like, we
This-
can,
State needs something, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So we can write, I can write in the letter that the planning board approves it at their meeting on March 14th, and everything is.
That's if we put it in the form of a motion.
all right, so
Yeah,
I would
right.
motion that we send a letter of support
Mhm. Great,
from the city.
yep.
Second.
Thank you.
I have a motion by JR and seconded by Steve. Any discussion?
Thank you.
Vote. Steve?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
JR?
Yes.
Dave?
Yeah.
Motion passes.
Okay, so that was motion by Dave and second.
JR.
JR. Motion.
Seconded by
Steve.
Steve.
So Melissa, if you're watching at home, you can come pick up your letter tomorrow.
Lovely.
Yeah.
All right. Item B, LD 2003 update language from NMDC, page 82. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, has anyone had a chance to read?
I have not had the
I have
chance
not.
to read this. Can we make that our homework so that we can provide invite Jay or Kristen
Yeah.
to come next meeting?
So today, there was a NMDC Executive Board meeting, and Jay presented their, like, affordable housing toolkit, I think they called it.
Okay.
Yep.
And so he did a presentation, about how that fits with LD 2003. So I think that will be interesting to kind of take a look at that, too.
I was gonna say, do we have a toolkit?
Yeah,
We do not, but I think that's something the Development Committee, after having the Housing Symposium, and I have that information in your packet, I think that's one of the things we need to work on after we get a hold of Jay's and see, so we're not completely reinventing everything, but we can look to see, what Jay and Kristen have come up with, and then what tools we already have, what tools we need to sharpen, what tools we need to procure, to get going on that.
was there a recording or anything, copy of the presentation that he did?
No.
Nah.
No. But I have a feeling his slides and the actual toolkit's going to be available soon. I
Okay.
mean, it was just,
He's gonna do that presentation again at the end of the month, isn't he, for the
yes, and they talked about that today, and Paul Toll says, we don't have very many municipal managers signed up, so everyone on this call needs to be signed up. And finally, Jim Gardner said, well, they're having a manager training in Bangor the same day. That's why your managers aren't signed up. He's like, oh, we try to work around, but we're always going to conflict with something. But like from Caribou, we have people from the Development Committee are going. I think you said are you going to from
was the
the
date of that?
housing? It's the
For house,
29th.
yes, yeah.
Yeah, the housing, and Lisa is going
She
from our
is.
housing department, and so we do have people going, and I think we'll be able to get a good report back on everything.
Good.
So we're gonna review
Right, and
and,
so some things to think about when you are reviewing, and more if there's any gaps in what we're talking about, let me know. Because this is something that came up through the legislature to try to increase density and create more housing units, like through accessory dwellings, and the city has to pass it, so there's no home rule authority. We actually have to come up with something in our ordinance here. And anyway, but some things as you're looking through to think about that I have here is, do you have an opinion about the number of square feet or the
Yeah.
percentage of the principal structure, whichever is greater, that's in the definitions, and it's mentioned in the ordinance a couple of times. And does the planning board feel that there needs to be an owner-occupied dwelling unit on the parcel?
I had thought about that too. And I don't know, I think the concern is out of, non-residents coming in developers coming in, not people, not necessarily main residents who want to have a little retirement income or whatever. I think that would be hard to do, but I don't know how you discourage developers from coming in and purchasing.
yeah, it's definitely.
Right, and try to get an in-town lot that's a half an acre and put 4 tiny homes on
Right.
it, right?
Right. I don't know.
But if they meet the setbacks and square footage percentage, we pretty much have to let them.
Right, unless you have a requirement in there that there's got to be an owner-occupied dwelling in amongst those.
But what about, what about, and I'm just theoretically speaking, what if you have a lot that has 2 dwelling units on it now, which is allowed, if you meet all of the requirements without having to do the subdivision? Now, what the state has done is made it so you can put 4 on there without having to do a subdivision? Or 3?
As far as I can tell,
4.
it's up to 4.
Up to 4, if you meet all of the requirements.
Right, right. You can
So-
get a density
Mr.
bonus if you're having
Right.
yeah.
Mr. Corvo, if you've got a parcel of land and you want to put 4 dwelling units on it, even though you don't live there, but you own it.
Mhm.
You don't want to be restricted, do you?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think there was some discussion, they had listening sessions, I went to the one at the library, and something else that's come up is, okay, well, if you don't have owner occupied, then you need to have someone who lives there a minimum number of days, so that it's not all short term. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to kind of regulate, but I don't know, like, what does the planning board think they want to regulate? Or do they want it to be so that people can develop and people can live there, they can have short-term rentals, they can have, you know, small homes for people who are working up here, you know, that maybe it's just one person, or maybe they go downstate on the weekends. I mean, I don't know.
Right. I mean, it would be interesting to see what the, economic development committee had to say on it,
Mhm.
or the housing committee had to say on it,
Mhm.
or, as I'm looking at Mr. Corvo.
And Mr. Belanger, who's
And
who's the
yeah.
chair of housing.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, there's a lack of housing in Caribou.
Right.
Yes.
There's a lack of housing everywhere. At the end of the day, that's the biggest
I
priority,
think
in my opinion.
there's steps that can be put in place. Number one, if you get a permit, you sign on, we have the ability to keep track of what's going on. If we see it getting out of hand, then we can put some teeth in it. Doesn't that make sense?
I just think that opens us up to, yes, David, but I think that opens us up to a bigger can of worms, whereas if we can take some advance.
Limitations of
Yeah,
sorts?
well, limitations isn't a great word, but I mean, we should, 'cause, again, you don't want.
Boundaries. You're talking boundaries.
Yeah, just some initial, even if it's a little gray,
Well, you come up with the magic word,
So,
and we'll take it.
Does he have square footage or percent of the,
See, it hasn't blank in there.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
I don't know what other towns are doing. Steve, have you done any research on this?
Well, I think 288 square feet per unit would be a minimum
Minimum.
square footage, which is 12 by 24. Um,
is that the definition of a tiny home anyways, right? A minimum of that,
I
no
think-
more than
I think
400,
it's
something
less.
like that?
Tiny
Yeah.
homes are actually a lot less than that. But
So-
that's a reasonable addition, I guess. And to go smaller than that, I mean, they still have to have legal ingress and egress.
gotta be-
Facilities, could have,
You'd be cramped for room.
But I
You
think
want any
technically,
smaller.
if you're under 200 square feet, you don't need to pull a building permit.
Well, that's an
Correct?
accessory structure. I mean, it wouldn't be like a dwelling unit. Because we've had people try to
A
pull
de-
that
a de-
before.
It can't be a dwelling unit, so like a shed,
Right,
200 feet and under, you don't have to, okay.
right.
200 square feet, okay.
right.
Yeah.
An accessory structure, that's.
Yes.
does 320 square feet sound right, Steve?
It sounds better.
I mean, what's a studio apartment in,
More like
400 square
450
feet?
tops?
Yeah.
And I guess the question is, the housing is going to benefit who as the tenant? So when you think of an addition on the side or the end, or to add on to a house of a square footage, let's say the person is a young person having trouble affording a 3-bedroom, to be able to purchase a 3-bedroom ranch home, and which always traditionally has been kind of the standard starter home for most families. That or an unfinished cape, I guess, is where most people start out. But unless we have, well, an influx, or they're already here, those people looking for that basic starter home or a place to live, they need employment. So it's kind of a vicious circle turning in reverse, being that without people actually here looking at a list of rentable apartments, are people going to speculatively go out and build an addition or convert their garage or whatever in the R1 and R2 and R3 zones? And I don't think they are, being that until an employer comes to Caribou that employs people that are just starting out in life, you know, and what I see is probably a lot of people working two jobs, you know, a couple both working 2 jobs to make ends meet because housing is expensive. So I think what the state has tried to do with this is to say, okay, people, you can create some inexpensive, affordable housing for young people just getting started. But I think people with good jobs, making good salaries and incomes, if they need a house, they're going to buy a house.
Right.
There are plenty of houses out there for those that have the money to purchase them. And the other thing that I've looked into or identified lately, prices have just skyrocketed. So someone who purchased a home 40 years ago, they can place it on the market today for 10 times what they had purchased it for. What a increase, you know, but yeah, I've kind of thought about this and looked into it, and I've read as much as I could, but I just don't think it's going to come to be a problem for us. It's a problem in South Portland and Westbrook,
Right.
you know, Cumberland, York County, Androscoggin County. But once you cross the bridge in Medway, I think we're on the other side of the problem. You know, some may come along, and I'm sure it will, but not to be out of control. I've been wrong before.
Just once, I remember.
I made a mistake, then I found out I was wrong.
Well, they talked about that in the NMDC meeting today, about, you know, you have these factors like, okay, well, people need some good employment, but then there's no housing, and then there's no childcare. So, you know, it's kind of that three-legged stool here. Like, we have to be able to get people a good job and into a house they're comfortable in, but also have childcare so that they can live kind of a more balanced life there.
It's like cart, horse, cart.
Yes, exactly,
Right.
yes, yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So are we thinking we want to review that by a certain date for input
By
from?
the April meeting?
Sure.
So the
Ooh.
April meeting will be April 11th.
I will not be here.
Oh, the plot thickens.
The plot thickens. I will not be here. I will provide my feedback.
Just send an email or something?
I mean, did you want to have it on a different day?
Are people open to that?
Look on my calendar right now.
Is the 9th possible?
Just looking at my calendar.
I know you're not here the 3rd, so we can't make it the 4th.
Yes. There you go. Let's see.
I can make April 9th.
So usually on the second Tuesday, we have
Gee, I'm open.
airport.
You are?
Airport?
Just made it, huh? I have to check like 3 calendars, Dave. Come on.
What about the 2nd then?
I will be away.
Okay, you are, okay.
Let's go to the 18th.
I won't be back until 8:10 that night. No,
Okay.
sorry,
That one will-
11:30 that night.
Meeting starts at midnight.
meeting.
That's hilarious.
I'm messing everybody up.
No, that's all right.
So are we going to?
You could have it on the eclipse day, April 8th.
Is there's no
Nope.
council meeting that
No,
day?
There is not, because they're going to one meeting a month after budget.
Do we have other things coming up for April that we know of?
We just have
Well, we'll
the,
have the public hearing.
we'll have a public hearing. And then this, but we'd have to send this to public hearing anyways, right?
Oh, the LDA 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you'll probably want to do that after you get everything set on
Right.
there. Yeah. Yeah.
I was going to suggest we just kind of skip April and move into May.
But we need to have the public hearing. In fact, I was just when I opened my email from Novel Energy, they said, oh, are we using the same link?
Same link.
That was at 6:30, but
Nope.
nope.
Okay, so can we push this to May? And
Yes.
I'll just
Yeah.
have Mr. McElwain
Okay.
will just have to run
Run
the show.
Okay,
I'm fine with that.
we can do that.
I just didn't want to miss this.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
So we will put that, so May is going to be LD, because we really need to have it passed by
Nice.
July 1st.
Okay.
So that'll
Because
give
we're
us
just
plenty of
pretending
time,
that we're a town that can do it by July the 1st.
Okay.
which is fine, because we'll have, oh, no, it still has to go to, it won't happen because it's still, unless if the city council has it right after we do.
Right, if the council meets about it in June, and they'll have a meeting at the end of June.
So we have to pass this in May, or set a public hearing
No,
for
you
May.
could pass it in June, because your June meeting will be before the council's June meeting.
Yep. Okay.
So then that gives you,
Cart, horse, cart.
yes, yeah. Yeah,
We're going to wear that one out tonight.
I know.
yes.
Okay, chicken, egg,
Yeah.
chicken, okay. All right.
Yeah. Okay, I think we have a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that will put our May meeting at May 9th,
Okay.
right? Second Thursday?
And Frank will run the April one that you're away.
Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
okay.
Assuming, and if not, then you are.
Oh, gosh. No pressure, huh?
Perfect.
All right.
That worked out.
Good.
All right. Moving right along, we've got old business. So this is the markup from our work session.
Yep,
Okay.
and so I have the original one from our work session here, if anyone wanted to just double check it, but, when I started looking, we really didn't have that many changes, because a lot of them, like, we kept, keep at, like, there's a lot of them like keep as no, or keep as.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yep.
Oh, wait. See, there, daycare. Daycare.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
So the ones that have the little star are home occupations, right? So daycare facility, daycare center, daycare facility family or group, those all are considered home occupations.
Well,
the
that would
new-
be suitable
For-
for,
right,
yeah,
yeah.
home
Correct,
occupation.
yes.
Yep.
Yes,
And-
not necessarily always, yes.
Yeah, and I did notice when I was going through here that for some reason, the definitions weren't put in here, and I couldn't find it in a Word document so that I could easily
Oh,
pull them out and put them in there, but,
let me go back in my Wayback Machine, see if I can find the definitions for you, Penny.
that'd be great.
You don't have it, it's not on Ken's computer?
I couldn't find it on there.
Okay.
I could only find the,
I'm sure I've got it in
PDF.
an email somewhere.
and I'm sure I could have tried to, copy it and things, but I said, well, I'll keep looking.
Right, okay.
Because I'm
speaking-
sure eventually you'll want to just double check these definitions of zones too. I don't know.
Speaking of land use table
Mm-hmm,
and getting it, comprehensive plans, June,
mm-hmm. Well, June-ish.
when do we need, like, what's the drop down? Like, what's a good date to get the zoning ordinance changes, land use table and zoning map sent to public hearing had, sent to city council, public hearing happened there, and into ordinance?
Well, I don't know, but let me check with Karen and Jay and see what their thoughts are.
Okay. Because I'm thinking this is probably coming up fast.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of meetings. and
That's a
approvals.
lot, yeah,
Well, I
it's gonna
think
be a
we
lot
could
of
do-
workshops or something.
Yeah.
to get that done.
No, I think our zoning map is good. I don't think it's, and we're almost done here. And it's just, it would just be the changes to
Right, in
the
the ordinance where we have these
C2,
different, yeah.
RC1. We don't have the MU1. Oh, yeah, we don't have an MU1 in there at all. That's a new zone.
That's a new zone,
And all of the riverfront
well,
zones.
the riverfront.
So maybe the ordinance is the last thing that we hit.
Right.
I still think that the land use table and the zoning map need to be with the comprehensive plan.
Yes, agreed.
So okay.
So land use table, zoning map, and Karen will be back in the end of April.
Okay.
And she is really into the comprehensive plan stuff. So she will be a good one to kind of do our forensic audit of all of our zoning.
Lovely.
Yeah, she'll be a great one for that.
So I'm thinking we might want to move on this in May, maybe? Public hearing in June?
Let me check with them and I'll just email everybody.
Council in July? That's a lot.
But I mean, as long as we have everything done, I think, in the fall, and then we can submit it to,
In the fall, is that what you said?
yeah,
Okay.
like September, and send
Okay.
it to them, and then, to
Okay.
the state for them to review. We can still have then if they send us back okay, this isn't, we're not finding this in your ordinance, blah, blah, blah. And we have to go back and fix something. I think it is easy enough to fix that by the end of the year.
Okay, all right. That makes me feel better.
Yeah.
You good there, Penny?
Poor Maura is getting into the deep end, oh my gosh, comprehensive plan, what is this? It sounds like a lot. It is a lot, but they've been working on it for a long time, so.
So we have a it's actually on the website, but we're redoing the comprehensive plan, and the way that, I wish Karen was here, because she would sell it to you.
Yes.
It's the roadmap for Caribou for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
The future.
The
Yeah.
future roadmap. And we're trying to, everybody's trying to get our ducks in a row. What'd you say?
Nothing, nothing, yeah,
So that,
Dave just being Dave?
Dave
Yeah.
being Dave,
yeah.
so that if there's grant money or whatever, we have a plan of attack. There we go.
Right, and all these planning documents are really important for that, for
Yeah.
grant writing. And even today, in the NMDC executive board meeting, they're talking about their comprehensive economic development strategy for Aroostook and Washington counties. And, they also try to make it so we can, because a lot of these, like the Northern Border Regional Commission, we have to go to the state economic development plan, the county's economic development plan, our own comprehensive plan, and then any other planning documents that we have, so, yeah. Yep, if we're trying to get money, with these grants, they don't want it to seem like you and a couple buddies were at a restaurant and wrote down a plan on a napkin, and that's what they want to do. They want it to be, okay, this has been vetted by the planning board and the city council, and we've had citizen input and public hearings, and this is something that is part of their long-term strategy.
I was going to say, no, that's how small businesses start.
Yes, small
They start on
businesses start that way, but,
And then
we
they have
can
to write business plans.
Yes, but we could also, entrepreneurship is alive and well in Caribou, and we have a lot of people that, come up with those ideas, kind of like back of the napkin type ideas, and as long as we have in our planning documents that we're going to provide support to those businesses, then we can help them apply for like development block grants and things like that. So it's just really important that what we have is also supportive of business uses today and in the future.
Well said.
Well, I can't say it as good as Karen. She would be here, and she would, like you said, she would sell it better.
She's
but-
probably watching, and she's
Yes, if she's
I was
not
there.
watching now, she'll be watching it tomorrow, because if for some reason she can't watch them because she's got something going on, she always watches them the next day, and then she calls me, what about this? Do you have a note about that? When are we going to do this? So she has a lot of energy for that.
All right, page 96, we have review of housing symposium. Do you want to give the,
Well, Dave, do you want to talk about it?
I was just saying, Mr. Corbo?
Yeah.
It's,
So page 101 kind of has
Yeah.
her like summary report.
I'm gonna say that overall, everybody that attended was pleased with what was discussed. Some praises went to the fact that we're attempting to mitigate the issues that we feel are critical. We got a lot of work to do. And the summary spells it out. I hate to be repetitious, but if you take a few minutes and scan it, got a lot of work ahead of us.
And one of the things that came up several times, you'll see, is about a housing study. And so we've already applied for grant funding for, so through this housing opportunity program, the same people that are bringing you LD 2003, assistance, they have funds available for housing studies. So Jay assisted us, so translation, Jay did all of the work. We just kind of told him, what we were thinking, and he synthesized it into a good application, because NMDC has funding available to assist communities to apply for these grants. So we're very fortunate that Jay lives in our community, works in our community, is involved on community committees. So he's a real champion for this also. And so we're still waiting to hear back about that application, but they'll pay 75%. So it's a pretty good deal for us,
Yeah.
because it's something that actually we've been talking about for a while, because it would help too with our voucher program too, if we can find out, people who maybe have some units. And one of the things that Lisa has talked about is it would be helpful to her in her department if she knew, who has first floor units, who have ones that would be accessible for someone in a wheelchair, so that they would know what's available. And people hear Caribou Housing Authority, and so they reach out to them even if they don't need a subsidized unit. So they really have to be kind of the keepers of that information. So we're hoping that it helps them as a city department, and also, helps us with the things that we're trying to do also from a development standpoint.
Now, while I have the floor, I'd like to plant a seed. After the symposium, I was approached by a couple individuals that wanted to discuss something to perhaps benefit Caribou in the future. I spoke to Penny about it. It's called an obsolescent tax. This may or may not be the right avenue to bring it up, but at least we can talk about it. Let's say that somebody in our community decides to,
I noticed that after. Yes. Nobody in particular, David.
lets their property deteriorate, be it the paint, the shutters that are hanging by one screw, be it roofing that's in sad shape, and you know the house is disappearing.
In the ground, slowly.
Yeah. In some communities, they prevent that from happening by applying an obsolescence tax. So that may or may not go well over here, but I did promise them that I would bring it to the table, and perhaps we can mull it over several times before we make a decision to go forward or nix the idea. Likewise, another tax that was mentioned, and I'm going to point to my good friend over here on my right. Let's say hypothetically, he's on a dead-end street, but he also owns 4 acres of developable property that has city water and sewer. And he chooses not to do anything, and he doesn't want to sell. What some communities have done is they've applied a surcharge to this gentleman's taxes. Like, if it's underdeveloped, let's say hypothetic, well, I can't use farmland because now that's
I was
gone
gonna
right
say,
through the roof. I was gonna say, just, I don't know, what you call land that's not being utilized, it's not considered a housing lot, so you're not paying.
Just vacant.
Yeah,
Huh?
Or
Just
tree
vacant.
tree growth?
Right.
Yeah.
Vacant?
It's a very affordable rate for people that have numerous acreage. Fact of the matter is we have to give him an incentive to do something.
Right.
Pay the higher tax, sell
Or-
it, or develop it.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in a situation like that, because I'm one of those people, maybe not on the city water though, I'm on well, where we, and I'll use myself as an example, do not proactively utilize our acreage to its fullest potential, but we are creating trails. How does that work? Would we, again, using me as an example, so if I was this person that you were planting the seed, I'll say, as far as these taxes, would those go against us, people like us?
I don't think so.
No, because
Okay.
you'd be in
It's
the
gonna be like in
country,
the
yeah.
Compact,
Yeah,
like this
okay.
is like
This
city
is-
water, this is
right.
where like utilities are already
Okay.
to the property, and it's where they want the density
Right.
to increase.
Okay.
Not necessarily like on your back 40,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
Right.
Well, because you have other considerations there with your
Right.
subsurface wastewater disposal system, but
Right.
also your driveway, because,
But is not all ours either. It is actually, half of it is owned by the radio station next door.
oh, no
Right.
kidding, okay,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I mean, we're talking about unoccupied,
Mhm,
in-town lots
Right.
that have utilities,
Right.
basically.
Because if you look
Right.
at.
Like it
maps-
was a dwelling, it used to have a house on it type thing, yeah, yeah.
So if when you look at the map, you
Yeah.
see lines.
Yeah, right.
But it's,
Grass.
so that's a lot, but it's a vacant lot.
Right.
You know,
Right.
undeveloped. So,
Undeveloped.
and then you have some that were remainder lots and subdivisions that were, you know, still on the map as lots, but they were never built on, you know. So, I mean,
Well,
there's,
That could be because He didn't want a neighbor.
Didn't want a neighbor.
Right, well, that's what I'm saying, like, that
Yeah.
kind of would fit the description of
You
what
would-
you're trying to do.
Yeah, I know. I
So
keep thinking
then-
about my neighbor.
Yeah, so that's why, I mean, it's really set up, like, when you create subdivisions, that you're paying for each buildable lot, but then people will say, well, I didn't sell those, I'm gonna go do a revision to my subdivision plan, so now instead of 4 1-acre lots, I've got 4 acres, because the way, you know, we tax things, you're paying the most for the first acre, so we think of it to account for economies of scale.
Right.
So your first acre, we'll say, is 10,000, your next 5 acres are gonna be, I hate it that I can't remember this off the top of my head anymore, but,
Wow.
we'll say it's $1,000 an acre, but I can't remember now. I used to know this stuff pretty good, but not anymore.
Either way, it's.
Yeah, and then
it's
the next
significantly-
25 acres is like $250 or something.
Right.
So then, I think, no, maybe it's 1,500, and then, but you get the idea. I don't want to get too far in the weeds. But it's to account for economies of scale. But that's more like somewhere like where Maura is or where Amanda is, because Amanda's been buying up her lots too.
What are you talking about? I don't know what you're talking about, Penny. I know nothing.
Yeah. Yes, and that was subdivided out there too.
No, it wasn't. That was done very slowly. Free, whatever.
No, they weren't. And they were all in the same person's name.
They were all in the same
Stuff, yeah.
person's
So
name
anyway,
previously.
I have done my
But
due diligence. I brought it forward for all of you
That's
here.
interesting.
Yeah,
It is an
I
interesting.
mean, it makes
concept.
sense for the compact zone in town.
yeah.
You want to live in town, you want
All
water,
the
you want
convenience,
all the
yeah.
convenience, you want the,
Walk to the rec,
Yeah.
walk to the school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you want your sidewalks salted
Yes,
and.
that's right, yeah.
So if it's a directly adjacent vacant lot to where you reside, and you use that for the kids to have the tennis net or whatever, basketball hoops, and are we getting into people's business more than the
Well,
municipality
it's
should?
being utilized. I mean, I can see
It could be that they just choose to have an empty lot for the kids to play ball. in.
Right.
a green space.
So who becomes the judge of
That's.
a person who owns their land, what they can do with their land?
It's gonna have to be him.
It's always me, David.
Dave's pretty good at pointing that finger tonight.
No, Steve, that would be the biggest thing. Like, I guess the easiest way to put it is, that's one that wouldn't be a good example, and it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
gotta be that one that is completely,
Or even if it's completely opposite end of town, or the owner doesn't live in Caribou, but owns empty lots in Caribou.
Yeah.
Is this really an incentive to motivate them to do something? Or should Caribou just be looking at our valuation for lots in town, what are they, like 15,000 on average, or, you know, to say, okay, as an incentive, someone who's not using it, who lives across town or out of town, for Caribou to take that $15,000 annual tax for a vacant piece of land, and what, to increase that to
Increase it by a percentage.
Increase it to a point where it kind of then does stimulate that person to put a for sale sign on it.
Yeah.
Because if they're not building, they can always sell it and let somebody else go through the building process.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, like, so it hasn't been the practice to, so if you, so say, like using Steve's example, so you have a lot in town, and say it's, the market value is 15,000, but say we have it assessed at 10,000 for a base acre. Now, if you have a house there, we're also going to be charging you an improvement charge because you have water, sewer, driveway, because it's now an improved lot. But we haven't been doing that
Oh.
on vacant lots.
Oh.
You know, if you don't have a house there, we haven't been treating it as an improved lot.
Gee, we could start
I
with
was gonna say,
that.
can we
my
start with that?
goodness, yeah,
you
that
know.
alone would be,
So that's kind of doing,
Yeah.
you know, what, but having rationale for it. Like, you
Right.
can't, you know.
You've got
so
a
there's-
driveway, you've got
Yeah.
utilities. it's a
Right.
higher market value.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, than something else.
Because it would be on, if they were to sell it,
That
that would
adds
be.
a lot of value.
That would
That
be
adds up to
on the
a lot of
selling.
value.
Yeah.
It's just like in the country, if
Yeah.
you have a, like,
Already
say.
got a well and a septic
Yes,
and a
exactly,
driveway
like,
and there's a
exactly.
culvert there and, yeah.
So say
Ready
there
to-
was a
ready
mobile
to
home
build.
there, because, I mean, this is
Right.
the thing that will happen. Especially, when we had a higher population, somebody would have like, oh, well, grandma needs a place to live, so I'm going to lop off an area
Right.
and put a mobile home there for grandma. It's all one floor, but she's right here in the yard, so we can go check on her. Well, then, grandma decides she's going to go to Florida to live with her other kid that lives there because Maine is too cold. So they sell the mobile home, but the well and septic and the driveway and the power pole is all still there.
Yeah.
So that 1 acre, that lot that they created, because grandma was having her own land, she was not going to,
Right.
it's,
It's worth a lot more.
but we do that in the country. So if
Yeah.
you have a well and septic,
Yeah.
we are going to charge you, but we don't really do it in town, even though you have the ability to hook up to city water, city
So
sewer.
you do it in the country?
Yeah. If you have that
Makes sense.
situation,
Right?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
if I discovered that maybe someone had improved one of Amanda's lots out there.
Boy, there's a lot of
nothing
finger
to-
pointing.
I have one
Goodness.
well
No,
and
no.
one septic
No, I know
on
that.
one lot. There might be a couple other lots that have nothing
I
on them.
actually worked here when they did all that stuff, so I know there's never been anything. But just say there was. I'm just trying to use Amanda as an example, because she's a land baron out there on the West Coast Road. I don't know what
So,
you're talking about. Or no,
would
it's
you-
Old Washburn Road.
Would you say that there's a fair amount that we
You mean
are-
in town that
Yeah.
you could say, but I mean, this is
I
something.
can
No, I'm
count,
just-
I can count 6 or 7 right on my hand,
Yeah.
pretty quickly.
Yeah. See,
I
this would be
count 10.
some,
I was gonna say, and I don't live in town. Yeah.
Is this something that needs
this
to
would be
be,
like the Board of Assessors would be taking, because you would be changing like an assessing policy.
does the council have to approve that?
They never have, really.
Okay.
It's always just been what's market driven.
Right.
So with assessing, what we have to look at is, what does the market say something is worth? So when you go through and you use like the cost approach to value everything, market is your check. So you derive what you're using the cost approach from market. So you're looking at what things have sold for and kind of developing a cost table from there, and then applying it through the whole community, because not every house sells every year.
Right.
But even more so right now, not to use the right now as the example, but right now,
Mm-hmm.
with the values of everything being significantly
Mm-hmm.
higher, there's from someone who might loan someone
Right,
some money
yeah,
to build
right.
on that, there's a lot more value
There
Yes,
is, yeah.
on that property
Yeah.
that's not going to cost.
Right. It's not like being in the country, like if Maura, if her well or septic goes, she's got to pay to
Yeah.
replace
Right.
that,
Right.
you know?
That happened last year.
Okay.
in your mind?
We lost one of our bays. That's okay though.
So they, in town, it's just a matter of, okay, well, I got to get the line from my house out to the
Well,
street.
still costs.
Which is still,
Right,
still
still,
costs money.
right.
But it's,
Big money.
Can.
It can, if
sure
it's deep,
can.
if it's deep, it's
yeah.
going to cost a lot of money to get that
Yeah.
done,
Absolutely. And yeah, no, that.
But all these things affect value, and it also affects, the marketability of properties and what people are,
Right.
willing to pay, and
If you're looking at two similar ones, and one's developed and one isn't, I'm going to take the one that's developed because it's
Right.
less cost out of my pocket.
and it's more of a known quantity. So if
Right.
you're looking at something and you're like, okay, well, am I going to be able to hook that, up, or
Right.
am I going to be able to get a good site design for a septic system?
Right.
And is it going to be in the area that I want it to be? Because I want my house to take advantage of this view, but can I get my utilities, hooked up that way? So, I don't know. So many things.
So can the planning board make a recommendation to the,
Well, yeah, you could make a recommendation that they at least consider that, as
Look at
as an
does
update.
that have to be done as a motion from the planning board? Should be, huh?
Sure. I mean, it's more official that way.
I'd like to make that a motion.
Motion to write a letter to the assessors board? Is that what I hear?
Yes.
About in-town buildable lots or improved lots.
And the taxable amount.
Well, to add an improvement
It's a percent.
factor.
Right,
Yeah.
of
Well,
some
it's a
sort.
dollar amount, so in town it's like 4,000, and in the country it's 8,000
Yeah.
of
Oh, okay.
value. Yeah.
Yeah, but, I mean,
Some appropriate number.
Yeah.
yeah.
I second that,
We have a
David.
motion by Dave and seconded by JR.
Absolutely.
Any discussion? Speak now or forever hold your peace. Take a vote, Steve? Maura? Oh, Maura?
Yep.
JR?
Yes.
Dave?
Yes.
There's your motion.
There we go.
And that about wraps up my,
So you can go back to your group
Symposium?
and say, you got some action today.
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
It's,
on one.
On
Yeah.
one of many.
well, we
David.
talked, and we talked about the subdivision, right? That we were gonna take a look at our ordinance
Right,
versus the
compare it
state,
to the-
to the state
state,
minimums.
yeah.
See if we can,
Yeah.
Make any
streamline
efficiencies
anything,
there.
yeah.
Do we want to put that on the agenda for our next planning board meeting?
we can, take a look at that and see if, yeah, I mean, we can just look at the state ordinance and our ordinance to see if there's any discrepancies between the two. I would hope that they're pretty similar, but now, is the state revising their subdivision law?
They're gonna have to.
They
They're
are.
gonna have to.
So can we wait until the state comes out with their revisions?
Why don't I plan to check
Okay.
to see if they have a timetable?
Because
and
we
then
don't want to
report that
change it
back.
and then have to change it again.
That's a waste of time.
It's a waste of time,
Yeah.
especially if they're going to be coming out with it soon, I'm going to say.
So actually, if it's a two-family house now, and they want to add that third unit,
They can.
that triggers the current subdivision rule.
Yes, current, but the new one
Yeah.
is,
They'd have to wait 5 years
right,
for that addition, but,
right.
so I think they've got some cleaning up to do in Augusta.
They have a lot of cleaning up to do. Finessing? Massaging, I don't know what you want to call it.
We can probably look at the undervalued tax for commercial properties at our next meeting.
Okay.
That'd be,
Stop.
you know that 10 acres next to the industrial park that you own? We want it.
Yeah.
See, it's all good-natured fun here,
It
Laura.
is.
See,
Yeah.
I have to get more a plate too. I wrote that in my notes.
You can have mine.
Yeah, but it doesn't have her name on it. You gotta get her on with her name
Does that
on
mean
it.
it comes with all your responsibilities?
Yes, that's right. yes.
How many committees?
Yeah, exactly. See, Laura already knows how many committees you're on.
Dave's on too many.
Yeah.
Penny, anything on staff reporting that we haven't already touched base on?
So blighted properties, we still have some. It's a priority of the council to address those. Melissa, the Republican, is writing a story about the Aroostook Waste Solutions working with member communities in the blight fight with allowing us to bring a certain amount of construction and demolition debris at no cost to the municipality to help in the blight fight. So she's writing a story about that.
That's great.
Can I ask a question regarding the blighted properties?
Mhm.
Is this a reoccurring agenda item for the council? Do they look at that every week?
Yes, so on my manager's report, I talk about it every week.
Excuse me.
But I will tell you, when they were setting their priorities, I mean, blight is a huge priority for them.
Good.
Like, this year, I think it was 6 of the 7 named it as one of their top 2 priorities, is address these blighted properties.
It all folds into one.
Yep, I mean,
Right.
yep.
Affordable housing,
That's
it's
right.
all
Jobs, it's
Yeah.
all, yep,
cart, horse, cart.
yes, yes.
Whatever it is.
Yes.
Cart, horse.
So it's horses and
cart.
it's horses and chickens now.
Horses
Yeah.
and chickens? No. Cart, horse.
The grants, I haven't sent my updates, like for a March flyer, to have Bethany update that on our different grants, but with the Brownfields grant, we have County Environmental is consolidating petroleum products down there.
Oh, okay.
Yep, and cataloging them, seeing what is there, quantifying them, consolidating them. We have to put a banner up as soon as we kind of get a little bit, I mean, the weather is great, and I am not complaining about the weather, but we don't know if maybe there's going to be bad weather, so we're going to wait and put our banner up when we're sure it's not going to be taken down with ice. The Circle of Action, which is actually at the steam plant, so the EPA actually sent a contractor up here and boarded up the steam plant. If you go down there,
Yeah, I
it's
saw that.
all very professionally done, looks great. EPA sent someone up here.
Wow.
So they are really.
And they paid for
They
that?
paid for it. We didn't pay anything for that.
That's great.
So they're really taking responsibility for that over there. So they are in the process of getting bids out to contractors, and they think they're going to have the steam plant down this year.
Wow.
No cost to the city.
That's great news.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
That should be like a
That is
Facebook blast or
huge.
something.
Yeah, but I mean, we don't want to really advertise
If
it too
it's-
much because, like, we don't want them to say they're too eager or something, you know. But we want them to like get the contract and get it signed, and then we'll.
Or maybe
you know.
take a picture while it's happening.
Yes,
and then
I
do a
really would like
blast.
to have a drone because I would like to be able to take like some drone pictures when they're working on some
Oh,
of
there's.
this stuff.
I'm sure there's some people in
Somebody's
the
gotta have-
community that would
Yeah.
be willing to do that for you.
Yeah.
Not me.
Yeah. Somebody. So, you know, we have money to do the diesel plant with our Brownfields grant, no match to the city. We have EPA working on the Circle of Action, no cost to the city. Our MBRC grant, we actually applied for grant funding through the DEP's 128A program to do the Phase 2 environmental site assessments on the 2 properties down there, so that's in process right now too. You can see we spend a lot of time working on grants, but that's how we're getting a lot of this. There's money available now. I mean, in another few years, it's not going to be available, so we're burning a lot of calories trying to get as much money as we can here in Caribou. We had a discussion, I guess, before the meeting about the 2024 municipal budget and code enforcement staff, and that's a real priority of mine, but also several members of council. It's a
Good.
big priority for them too, because they understand, you know, what the planning board is trying to do with the comprehensive plan, riverfront, the VPI. Now we're working on the housing plan. All of those have the word plan in them. And so what do we not have? A planner. So we need to be taking all these different, and a planner can help us too in the blight fight, and can be researching what other towns are doing, going to conferences, finding out about best practices and what's going on in other communities to be able to address these issues. The Riverfront Redevelopment Committee is meeting next Tuesday on the 19th. And again, coming soon, the eclipse. And I did bring some glasses, so if anybody in the planning board needs some eye protection, because in the words of Steve Wentworth, it is all about safety.
I haven't actually seen that.
So, anyway, so that's really all I have for staff updates.
Lovely.
So, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, and these are the real deal. I
This-
mean,
right, this is the
these
real-
were, like, when you read about, and I think actually they had on the TV,
Well, take 2.
Yeah.
Safe for direct solar.
yes.
Right.
Like, you have to look for like some ISO rating or something on
Yeah.
there, and these are the real deal. I mean, these
Wow, they are
We're
like.
It
from
is,
the
yeah,
Southern
totally.
Holistic Development Corporation.
Dark, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, and sponsored by FAP Body and Machias Savings Bank, who are
Look at that.
sponsoring that,
Shameless
so that,
sponsors.
yes.
Yes. Community service,
Yeah.
right?
What time of the day is the eclipse?
3:30 something,
Yeah,
3:32?
It's like 3:32.
Yeah.
And like Holton is the spot.
Yes.
They've
Believe it or
been
not.
advertising
Yeah.
for
Have you, yeah.
ever,
Have you
and they are,
looked at
they
what's
have the
going on?
longest.
Oh my
Yes.
God.
Yeah,
They have the
It's
longest
amazing.
amount.
it's like
and-
3 minutes, 3.5
Yeah.
minutes, and we're at like 2.5.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I just watched an eclipse not even 3 years ago. Past
Oh, the one that, the 2017 one? Yeah.
we were in the direct line
Oh,
down
was that
south.
Tennessee? Was that when you were in Tennessee? Yeah.
Yeah,
David?
This is old news.
this is all this. Sorry
No,
if
I
I
think
offend
couple.
anybody.
No offense taken.
No, it's
I'll just make sure I'm not
taken.
blind when I
Yeah.
Pound the schools.
We've given them out to all the schools.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, they have a lot of them that have gone out, but we got some here and,
Expensive.
yeah,
You don't want to know.
so,
Great.
yep.
Well,
That's
thank
what
you
we
guys.
got going on over here.
Not much. I don't, I don't know
50
why
cents a
everybody's so
piece?
busy.
Oh, I don't know.
I don't even, we're just,
A chunk.
yeah.
All right. The chair would entertain a motion.
I move that we adjourn.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Steve. I'm assuming there's no discussion. Take a roll call vote. Steve?
Yes.
Maura?
Yes.
JR?
Yes.
Dave? We are adjourned. Mike's off.
Thank you.
I want to abstain.
You didn't.
She skipped right over you.
Doesn't matter, you
Did I say Dave? I thought I said Dave.
You did, no.
And I didn't answer.
Sounded like a yes from our side.
Penny said yes for you.
Yes.
Is everybody's mics off?
Mine is.
Oh, turn it off, Penny.
Good
No, I'm
question.
just teasing.